There is a story, older than Babylon, of a king who abandoned his throne to wander the earth as a beggar. When his subjects finally found him, skeletal and barefoot, they wept and begged him to return. Do you know what he told them? "I never left my kingdom. I only forgot where I buried the key." For centuries, sages and madmen have insisted that paradise isn't a place, it's a perception. That the most profound power you'll ever possess doesn't lie in temples, scriptures, or the hands of gurus, but in the silent chambers of your own awareness. Yet, humanity remains hypnotized by the same delusion, that salvation is out there, waiting to be claimed like some celestial lottery ticket. What if the greatest conspiracy isn't about who controls governments or banks, but who convinced you to abandon your throne? Today, we rip away the veil. We'll traverse the scorched trails of desert mystics, decode heresies scrubbed from holy books, and expose why the kingdom within is the only truth powerful enough to collapse empires and resurrect gods. By the end, you'll either call this blasphemy or finally hear the crown calling your name. To understand the weight of these words, we must journey to a desert far older than Jerusalem, to the sands of Egypt, where initiates of the mystery schools were taught. Know thyself, and thou shalt know the gods. Here, in torchlit chambers beneath pyramids, students learned that the kingdom was not a reward for the righteous, but the unclaimed inheritance of awareness itself. Centuries later, the Gnostic Gospels would echo this heresy, declaring, "You are the sons of the living Father, drunk on the wine of ignorance," a direct challenge to those who would sell salvation like merchants at a bazaar. But this thread runs deeper. In the East, Lao Tzu wrote of the Tao, the way that cannot be named, yet pulses in the marrow of every breath. The Buddha, too, rejected both indulgence and asceticism, pointing instead to the Majjhima Patipada, the middle way, a path that begins not with rituals or prayers, but with the radical act of turning inward. Even the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, shrouded in riddles, proclaimed, "You could not discover the limits of the soul, even if you traveled every road, so deep is its measure." Why do these traditions, separated by continents and centuries, whisper the same secret? Because the kingdom within is not a metaphor. It is the primal architecture of consciousness, a dimension where seers from the Upanishads to Carl Jung have glimpsed the same truth. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, hollowed into human form, forgetting itself to remember. But this amnesia is no accident. Empires rise when souls outsource their sovereignty. Religions thrive when divinity is exiled to the clouds. The greatest trick of tyrants, both mortal and metaphysical, is to make you beg for what you already own. Picture this. You are born into a labyrinth. Its walls are made of stories, tales of who you should be, what you should want, how you should kneel. For years, you trace these corridors, hunting for an exit, a purpose, a god. But one day, you press your palm to the cold stone and realize the maze is breathing. Its twists are your pulse. Its dead ends are your fears. The kingdom is not hidden in the labyrinth. You are the labyrinth, and the throne room lies at its still center. This is the first veil to tear. The within is not a location, but a layer of perception, like an alchemist staring at lead. Until it confesses its golden truth, you must learn to see through the illusion of separation. The Upanishads call this Tattvam Asi, thou art that. Not becoming divine, but unforgetting it. The Sufis say the heart is a mirror crusted with the dust of 1,000 lifetimes. Your task isn't to build a better mirror, but to wipe it clean. Yet here's where even seekers falter. They mistake the kingdom for an emotion, bliss, love, serenity, when it is the canvas upon which emotions paint themselves. It is not light, but the eye that sees light. Not silence, but the awareness that hears silence. The medieval Kabbalists encoded this in the Ein Sof, the infinite void that becomes by not being. To enter the kingdom, you must cease trying to enter at all. A Zen parable cuts to the bone. A disciple asks, "Master, how do I find the Buddha within?" The master replies, "Who tied you to this within and without?" The Yao kingdom defies geometry. It is not inside you like an organ, but as you, the nameless architect of every breath, every thought, every scream into the void. The moment you stop seeking it as a treasure, you become its crown. But if the kingdom is your birthright, why does it feel like a rumor? Because you've been taught to worship the map instead of the territory. Consider the tale of the golden statue lost in a river. Centuries pass, and villagers forget its existence. Instead, they pray to crude drawings of it scratched into stones, arguing over whose sketch is most accurate. This is the tragedy of spirituality, mistaking rituals, dogmas, and sacred texts for the thing itself. The kingdom's most dangerous truth: it cannot be earned, not through piety nor suffering nor ecstatic revelation. Like the sun that shines on tombs and temples alike, it exists prior to virtue and sin. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart risked heresy to say it plainly. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. No mediator, no transaction, just a mirror gazing into its own depth. Yet here lies the razor's edge. To claim this sovereignty, you must depose the counterfeit rulers, the parts of you addicted to unworthiness, the voice that whispers, "I'm not ready," or "I must suffer more." These are not humility. They are the residue of empires that profit from your amnesia. The alchemists knew this. Their magnum opus began not with gold, but solve. It coagula, dissolve the false, reclaim the true. A Tibetan Buddhist master once told me, hell is not punishment. It's the moment you realize heaven was always your house, and you've been freezing outside your own door, begging to be let in. The kingdom's gates open inward. There's no key to find, no password to chant, only the courage to stop pretending you're a guest in your own skin. To claim this throne, you must become both archaeologist and alchemist, digging through layers of illusion, then transmuting what you unearth. Begin with the mirror of midnight. Each dawn, before the world stirs, stand naked before a mirror. Not to judge flesh, but to confront the voices that rise, too old, unworthy, not enough. Meet each one as a usurper. Say aloud, "I see you, pretender, but this kingdom has no vacancies." Do this until the critic's power bleeds out, leaving only the sovereign's silence. Next, practice the desert fast, borrowed from the early Christian mystics. For one day, starve your senses. No screens, no music, no chatter. Let the void swell. When boredom becomes panic and panic becomes rage, stay. This is the alchemical nigredo, the blackening. Here, in the raw hunger, you'll glimpse the kingdom's borders, not as a distant paradise, but as the ground beneath your feet. Finally, steal a weapon from the Zen archers. Zazen without object. Sit, breathe. But instead of focusing on breath or mantras, ask, who is aware of the breath? Chase this question like a wolf hunting its own tail. When thoughts arise, don't push them away. Ask, to whom do these thoughts appear? The mind will squirm, invent answers, collapse. Let it. What remains when the thinker dissolves is your coronation. Beware. The gatekeepers will resist. Distractions will multiply. Sleep will feel sweeter than truth. When this happens, remember the words of Rumi. You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life? The kingdom rewards only the ruthless, those willing to burn their maps and walk naked into the blaze of their own becoming. The kingdom within is not a destination. It is the dissolution of distance between seeker and sought, human and divine, dust and deity. Every saint, sage and heretic who ever lived points to the same paradox. You are already what you seek. But to know this is to wage war on the trance of unworthiness that masquerades as reality. So I leave you with a final riddle torn from the pages of an unnamed grimoire. A king sits on a throne he cannot see, in a hall that has no walls, ruling a realm that needs no ruling. His scepter is the question, am I? His crown is the answer. Tonight, when the world hushes, light a candle, not to pray, but to remember. Watch the flame until its light becomes your breath, your blood, your bones. Then ask, in a voice older than language, who is watching? The silence that follows, vast, unnameable, roaring with the weight of galaxies, is your coronation. The kingdom has always been yours. The only question left is, how long will you keep knocking at a door that opens only when you stop pretending? You're outside.